Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuouki Demon of the Fleeting Blossom. Today we are starting Toudou Heisuke's route. To be completely honest with you, I was not looking forward to this route because I'm not a fan of the bratty, energetic kid. I like almost every other type of guy except that one. But I know Hijikata's route's long, so I'm gonna go ahead and do Heisuke first because he should be shorter. Alright, well, of course I'm going to be skipping everything that I have read before in all the previous routes because it's a really long game. So if you want to know the full story, please watch the videos in the order that they are in Hakuouki's playlist. So here I go starting skipping. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. First we must attempt to explain my situation. Then decide to tell them I wasn't a boy, which is new, so we'll have some new text. As Saito turned to go, I rounded on Toudou to glare at him furiously.
Hey, what's up with you?
Earlier you said a man should know when to accept his fate. You don't think there's anything wrong with killing a man before hearing him out? His eyes narrowed as he stared at me, as though I'd suddenly become more interesting. Wait, he still thinks I'm a boy and yet love went up for us? Is Heisuke bi?
You ought to watch your mouth. Don't you get what's going on here? Maybe you should start acting like a man, alright? Just accept your fate. We've got to do what we've got to do.
But I'm not a man. It's Oran Host Club all over again.
Yeah, right. What, you're going to try to tell me you're a girl?
Yes. Toudou and Nagakura's eyes went so wide, I was almost worried they might fall out of their sockets. Their mouths worked wordlessly, like a pair of fish trying desperately to breathe air.
Well, I can't say I'm surprised. There's something a bit ladylike about your profile.
Thank you, Harada.
How the hell are we supposed to know that? Girls aren't supposed to wear pants.
That's how you tell. Nagakura's distress didn't seem to be having much effect on Saito, who regarded him with cool amusement. Perhaps he'd known the truth all along. Yep, he did.
Perhaps you do have a point. We ought to at least hear you out.
And skip. You know, I forgot to say with Saito's route, I was a little disappointed that there wasn't more romance. He was really a late bloomer, and barely anything happened. It was a little sad. I expected a little more epilogue. And here I searched the compound, which is nothing new. At this choice, leave and search for my father. And here look for Heisuke. This time we have to help Heisuke instead of stopping him. We had to do something about the Ronin. With grim determination, I laid my hand on the hilt of my sword. He saw me move and Heisuke's eyes went wide. Yeah, really? Me fighting against Amagiri? I'll fight too then. I might not be able to help much, but I can watch your back. He looked stunned for a second, and then his mouth split in a grin.
Right. So you're supposed to become my eyes or something. Come on, that'd take like 5 years at least.
It wasn't really the answer I'd expected to hear, and I couldn't help but laugh at it. Don't make fun of me. I could be useful somehow. And this time, stay behind. This time we go to the common room, so we'll have a little new stuff. I heard Heisuke and someone else talking as I walked down the hall. They were in the common room then.
Damn it. I wish I was out there right now, you know. Screwing around in this old place is boring.
Your injury may not be too serious, but there's no sense in taking unnecessary risks.
It sounded as if Sanan was actually trying to cheer Heisuke up. How long had it been since I'd heard Sanan say something nice to someone? He'd been a kind man once. I missed that Sanan.
I mean, yeah, it still hurts, I know that. And I know it's important to protect our headquarters, but...
I could see him fiddle with his bangs as he talked.
Well, as soon as your injuries heal, you'll be able to return to the front lines.
There was a subtle bitterness in Sanan's words that matched his smile, but Heisuke was too distracted to notice. He's too self-centered.
Far better than being condemned to spend the rest of your life as a pariah such as myself.
Too late, Heisuke realized what he'd said, and his mouth opened and closed awkwardly once or twice, like a fish gasping for air. Stop comparing the poor boy to a fish! It was true then, I realized. Sanan's left arm would never hold a sword again. An awkward silence fell over the room. I felt it would be rude for me to speak up, having left the inn unharmed on that fateful night, but if I pretended to walk through the room on other business, it would make it clear that I had been eavesdropping. Why? Just pretend that you weren't eavesdropping and just calmly stroll through? I had no choice then. I had to return to my room. As I turned to do so, Sanan's voice stopped me cold. But perhaps with the right treatment, I could hold a sword again. Treatment? What did he mean by that? Medicine? But he was already taking the Ishida powder, unless he was talking about something else.
What? Come on, Sanan. You aren't really talking about joining the Corps, are you?
Heisuke's self-pity disappeared abruptly, and in its place was disbelief, shock, and fear? Something about this conversation seemed familiar. I had heard them mention something like it around the time I first arrived. We had been eating dinner together when we received the news of Sanan's injury.
If push comes to shove, he'll have to take it. I don't think Sanan's just going to give up.
Don't jinx him, Soji. It's gonna look bad if the officers start joining the Corps.
They'd mentioned the Corps then too, but never explained what it meant.
It doesn't work. Soji and Hajime had to kill them, remember?
Okita and Saito had to kill them? That night was an experience I could probably never forget, but what did it have to do with the Corps?
True, it isn't quite complete, but if we can find Kodo, then he should be able to provide the assistance we need.
Father? What did my father have to do with their treatment? This was a great deal of information to take in all at once. My mind was a hurricane of thoughts, suspicions, and fears, and try as I might, I couldn't manage to collect them. Even as I struggled to make sense of what I just heard, I knew that I'd stumbled onto something dangerous, something I shouldn't know. Suddenly, I wanted very much to be gone. Why had I stayed and listened? I was such a fool.
I'm sorry, but I need to ask you not to go repeating anything you just heard.
His cold, quiet voice filled the empty hall. It never works out when I eavesdrop. Ugh! His eyes were looking directly into mine.
Yeah, sure, Sanan. I won't say a thing. But seriously, man, you can't do this.
He wasn't talking to you, buddy. Heisuke had thought Sanan was talking to him? Then he had no idea that I was there, or that I'd heard. Clueless man. If what Sanan had suggested really did happen, as silently as I could, I moved down the hall and away from the common room, back to the room I suddenly wished I never left. Skip time. Now it's time to investigate. Investigate the Yagi house specifically. Once again try to persuade him. This time return to headquarters. And of course we have to go find Heisuke. The temple at night felt like an entirely different place. Nearly all of the members of the Shinsengumi had gone to guard the shogun, which meant the entire compound was still cold and oddly silent. I was quite relieved then when I finally spotted Heisuke sitting in a corner and gazing up at the stars. Heisuke!
Huh? Chizuru?
He looked at me and blinked, as if he didn't quite believe what he was seeing.
What are you doing here all alone? Did you guys already finish with the shogun?
Actually, I didn't know where to start. Stumbling over my words more often than not, I poured out the whole story. At the mention of Amagiri, the man who'd wounded Heisuke and Ikeda, he scowled.
That guy, huh?
I continued, leaving out the part where he had called me a demon, and finished with my arrival at the compound. When I fell silent, he closed his eyes for a moment, and sat deep in thought.
Damn. Well, this must have been a pretty scary night for you. Anyway, you don't have to worry so long as you're here. I won't let anybody lay a finger on you.
He pounded his chest with one fist and grinned. I felt a little better. There was something about his bravado that was somehow comforting. But wait, I thought you didn't feel well. I'm not sure he should be outside all night. He hadn't said how bad it was. If worst came to worst, could he still fight? Heisuke glanced at my face and frowned.
Oh, actually, the truth is, I'm fine. I lied.
What? Why? He looked at me for a moment, then shook his head in defeat.
I just didn't want to go guard the Shogun.
It's like a kid pretending to be sick to get out of school. The Shinsengumi had originally been formed to protect Kyoto, the home of the emperor, and to act as bodyguards to the shogun when he visited the city. At that time, the divide between those who supported the shogun and those who didn't hadn't existed. The shogun had shown a deep respect for the emperor and expressed a desire to drive out foreign influences. In other words, to serve the shogunate was to serve the emperor. That very service had been the reason for the Shinsengumi's existence. To work for the Shinsengumi was to work for the shogunate, and to help them keep order in the city of Kyoto.
These days, though, it seems like the Shinsengumi is just another servant of the shoguns, and the shogun isn't even doing anything about the foreigners.
So this is why Heisuke had been less than excited by the opportunity of escorting the shogun. He gazed down at the ground, his eyes distant and sad. I didn't know what to say. The Shinsengumi had never demanded to know, or even seemed to care, about my political leanings, which was just as well, seeing as I had little in the way of knowledge or opinion on the subject, and almost never thought about it. But Heisuke had been in Edo for a long time. Did he see a change in the Shinsengumi that had, to me, been too gradual to notice? As any group grows, it must begin to accept people with different viewpoints. Size and human nature would simply decree that it cannot remain tightly focused forever. So long as the Shinsengumi fought in the front lines of any war, it would lose friends to death. But how many might it lose, I wondered, to differences of opinion? I did my best to put the thought from my mind. Better to enjoy the present than to worry about the future. As I sat myself down next to Heisuke, the memory of Kazuma and his ominous last words began to fade. Skipping again? And again we must callously turn a blind eye to poor Okita's health. This time it is my father still has some new text. What had become of my father? Did my father really betray the shogun? It wasn't an easy question to ask. Until then, I thought he was working for the shogun. And why did Kazuma know so much about my father? The more I thought about it, the more I realized just how little I actually knew.
Don't let it get you down, Chizuru. At least you know he's alive, right?
I didn't know what I looked like, but it must have been terrible judging by the concern on Heisuke's face. Yes, that's true, but... He was doing his best to cheer me up, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I still had so many questions.
Besides, we don't even know if what that punk said was true. We just gotta capture as many nationalist Ronin as we can, and see if they know anything about your dad.
True, we don't even really have any reason to believe this Kazuma. We've got the watch looking for Kodo. I'm sure they'll find something soon.
Even Harada and Hijikata seemed concerned about my mood. Thank you. I hadn't really expected any of them to be so nice to me. It was a pleasant surprise. The only reason they allowed me to stay was because I was my father's daughter. That hadn't changed, but...
I'll let you know as soon as I can if I find out anything, okay? So don't let it get to you, Chizuru.
Okay. Their words, Heisuke's especially, made me feel happy. This time the Furies worry me most. And I am especially worried about Zigard. I wanted them to stay. I don't feel betrayed. Are you sure you won't change your mind? Stay here with the Shinsengumi? I can't be the only person who doesn't want you to go. We all like you. Aren't the Shinsengumi your friends? I knew they had their reasons to go, but I had my own reasons I wanted them to stay. There was still time. If I could just convince them, make them understand, then they wouldn't have to go away. Please, Heisuke, Saito.
Don't say that. It took a long time and a lot of hard thinking to decide to do this.
Is that all you had to say? Then please excuse me.
Rude. But if you go, then you might have to fight the Shinsengumi someday. I made one last desperate attempt, but Saito simply shrugged it aside.
As I said, my ambition comes before my emotions.
Saito! But his mind was made up. There was nothing I could say to change it.
He's sure tough.
His eyes followed Saito as he walked away. Do you feel the same way? Can you just forget about your feelings? Would it be so easy for you to fight your friends? He screwed up his face in frustration. Heisuke was honest and straightforward, but he didn't have a way with words the way some of the other men did.
Hey, why don't we go to the courtyard?
Aren't we in the courtyard? Kinda looks like it. He wasn't avoiding my question precisely. Perhaps he wanted to buy some time to think about his response. Alright, let's go.
It's, gotten really warm.
He lifted his face to the sky for a moment. It was a cool, clear blue, and warm rays of sunlight washed down on us.
Well, let's sit down here.
Okay. Ah, a new picture of Heisuke. I lowered myself down next to him.
I know that, well, pretty much everybody doesn't like Ito very much. But I don't really think he's wrong, at least not completely.
I'm sure he's not. But not wrong and trustworthy were two very different things. Was he really worth leaving the Shinsengumi to follow? I opened my mouth to ask, but one look at Heisuke told me he was about to answer my unspoken question. I closed my mouth.
The Emperor, the Shogun, who's right, who's wrong? I don't think we'll really know who had the right idea until it's all over. I know Ito has some sort of plan that he hasn't told us about yet.
Then...
But I feel like I could do something good for our country with Ito. I have to see if I'm right. That's why, for now at least, I'm gonna go with him.
Heisuke...
Look, there's something you gotta understand. It's not like I hate all the guys now or something.
Okay? I understood what he was saying, but my heart felt like a cold, twisted lump in my chest. I didn't want to accept it. I couldn't. I know, I wanted you to stay longer, Heisuke.
Yeah, thanks. It's nice to know you feel like that.
But you're still going anyway. Oh, look at the blush.
I mean, I'd be lying if I said I'm not gonna be sad to leave you, but that, it doesn't mean that, Look, it's hard for both of us, okay? But it's something I gotta do. I'm a man too.
The last part was delivered as little more than a mumble, and I noticed his blush as he said it. I understand, Heisuke. So I wasn't the only one who would feel the loneliness of being apart then. In some strange way that made me happy.
And thanks for everything, alright?
Thank you for telling me how you really feel. I appreciate it.
Phew, glad to hear it. I just wanted to, and make sure we were clear on that.
His smile was relieved.
Oh, I'm sorry I can't stick around until you find your dad.
No, it's alright. Don't worry about it. Just be careful, Heisuke. No, how dare you leave me before we found my father? You promised!
Yeah, I know. I won't throw away my life. I promise.
Promises, promises. And this time I have to tell her that I am staying with the Shinsengumi for a man, but really, it's not true because Heisuke's not here right now. This time I'm staying in my room. And now I scream! What will Amagiri do to me? Amagiri was courteous enough, but I couldn't trust him. He'd broken into the temple to kidnap me, hardly the actions of an honorable man. If I let him take me, I didn't think I'd ever escape. The moment we'd stepped out of the Nishi Hongonji temple and into the street, I screamed at the top of my lungs. Help me! Anybody! He moved to cover my mouth, but it was too late.
Hey, what's going on here? A kidnapper?
Heisuke was reasonably close to the last person I'd expected to see, but I wasn't about to look this gift horse in the mouth. He'd save me, I was sure of it.
You! What are you doing here?
I could ask you the same thing, Heisuke.
And you are the guy from Ikeda.
Heisuke's surprise turned to anger as he recognized my captor.
Didn't think I'd run into you again so soon. We've got a debt to settle.
Oh?
There was nothing mocking in his tone, only perfectly honest confusion. He had no idea what Heisuke was talking about. Unfortunately, that only made Heisuke angrier.
Don't tell me you forgot. You gave me the scar at Ikeda Inn.
Oh, yes, I remember. I'm glad to see you're doing all right.
God damn it, stop making fun of me. You're not gonna get off so easy this time.
Oh, Heisuke, don't delude yourself. Heisuke's sword shot out and a strike a normal swordsman would never be able to parry, let alone avoid, but Amagiri dodged it easily.
What?
We needn't waste time fighting. It seems clear you haven't improved since the last time we met.
Shut it! I never give up.
He brought his sword down in a powerful chop, then jerked it back up in a second strike. Amagiri dodged both.
Damn it, I can't hit him.
True, his blows were missing, but the fight had only just begun, surely. Oh! The reason he was so frustrated wasn't because he was missing, it was because he couldn't hit Amagiri without possibly hitting me as well. I was keeping him from doing his best. What could I do to help him? Struggle?
No, time to think. I gotta do something.
He looked forward again, his sword hissing back and forth in shining arcs. That was it. I twisted around as best I could, trying to put my own arms and legs in the way of Amagiri's.
That's dangerous. Please remain still.
Oh, Amagiri, why can't you be an option, at least in Kyoto Winds? One more time. This time I twisted to pull myself between Amagiri and Heisuke's sword.
What?
His surprise caused him to hesitate for no more than a fraction of a second, but it was enough. Heisuke's sword dug into his arm, and blood splattered onto the street. With a hiss, Amagiri pulled his arm back in reflex, and I was free. Heisuke!
That was absolutely crazy, you know.
Crazy's what I do.
You've done it. Interesting.
Whether he was speaking to both of us or not, I couldn't tell, but I could see his civility beginning to slip. Amagiri had never struck me as friendly exactly, but suddenly he seemed very, very frightening. He always seemed very formal before. He took a step towards us, and I heard a whistle from somewhere nearby. I looked up to see people gathering in the street, their interest piqued by the fight.
We've drawn too much attention. I'll retreat. For now.
And with that, he was gone. Thank you, Heisuke. You saved me.
Yeah, glad you're okay.
He gave me a grin, but it quickly turned into a frown as his eyes drifted off into the distance.
Damn it, I didn't pay him back for Ikeda. I barely touched him. He's really good.
He was frustrated, to be sure, but there was a strange sort of respect at his frustration. However else he felt about Amagiri, he admired his strength. You were really amazing. I mean, you saved me.
Yeah, but I couldn't have done it without you. If you hadn't given me that opening, honestly, I don't know how this would have turned out. Maybe I haven't been training hard enough since I left the Shinsengumi. It just felt so useless.
His gaze drifted toward the ground. Heisuke, how are things, over there?
Yeah, I thought this was the path I had to take, you know? So I left, but I just kept thinking about the time I spent with the Shinsengumi. And lately, I just don't understand what Ito's thinking. Maybe I never did.
I'd never seen Heisuke express doubt so openly before. If things weren't going well with Ito, then maybe he could come back to the Shinsengumi. I nearly worked up the courage to ask him that very thing when I saw a group of people moving toward us from down the street. I could tell from their jackets that they were Shinsengumi.
Oh, shoot. Well, time to go. Sorry I can't take you back.
Heisuke? Before I'd even had the chance to say goodbye, he disappeared into the night. I knew he couldn't be seen by the Shinsengumi, but I'd hoped I might be able to talk to him a little longer. Another time. I still wanted to help. I will go and convince Heisuke. I wonder what would happen if I helped with Ito. I wonder if that's a bad ending. Maybe I should check sometime. And I was worried about Heisuke. I could see Heisuke hesitate, his sword moving slowly and more cautiously than I knew it should. Who was his enemy, he must be wondering? The Shinsengumi? The Satsuma? The guard? The battle was a storm of men and swords and blood, but in the middle of it I could see Heisuke, all alone. I took a deep breath and threw myself into the melee. Not wise! I'd come here for one reason, and the war attack had gone as planned. That hadn't changed. Heisuke!
Chizuru, what are you doing here, you idiot? You're going to get yourself killed.
He shoved me around behind him. his voice a mixture of surprise and anger. I was so happy to hear his voice again after so long that I found myself smiling. I'm sorry, but I had to tell you something. My run through the fighting had set my heart to pounding like an angry drum, and my lungs burned. I took a deep breath. You have to come back to the Shinsengumi. Everyone misses you. Swords clashed and men screamed around us, but I ignored them. He had to listen. He had to. I miss you, Heisuke. I want you to come back, please.
I can't go back. Not now. I did what I did because I thought Ito would be better for the country than... well, better. That's what brought me here, and...
Do you still believe that? Well, Ito's dead now.
I don't know. But when he said that he would have Sakamoto killed, and then make it look like Sano did it, it felt wrong. But the Shinsengumi just kills him in the street? That can't be right either.
One of the Satsuma men charged him with a yell, and Heisuke batted his sword away almost lazily. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Only a glimpse of a forced smile told me it wasn't a sob. My heart broke to think that my words were making him suffer, but...
I guess I was wrong to choose a path that was just about following someone else. Lately, I keep thinking about the time I spent with the Shinsengumi.
I think about you a lot, too. I'm sure I'm not the only one either.
That's so.
The clatter of sword on sword filled the air as the battle raged around us. He swatted away another attack and gave me a smile.
I'd like to go. I would. But if I go back to the Shinsengumi, I don't know what I'm supposed to fight for anymore.
What do you mean?
What are you doing, Todo? That kid Shinsengumi! Kill him!
Another member of the guard leapt at us from the side, his sword diving toward me.
Ugh.
Heisuke spun and drove the hilt of his sword into the man's stomach. Heisuke, you saved me? He stared at his hands in shock, then let his eyes fall to the man doubled over on the ground. When he spoke, his voice was only barely above a whisper.
Sorry, but I'm a pretty sad excuse for a guardian. I followed him into this mess for... I don't know. I guess I thought I had a reason.
More of the guard began to inch toward us. Heisuke's grip on his sword tightened.
But I've had enough of politics and ideals and all that crap. Royalism, nationalism, none of that matters anymore.
His voice grew stronger as his hesitation withered and fell away.
I don't care if I had to fight 100 men or 1,000 demons.
He turned to look at me over his shoulder, and the grin on his face lit up like the sun. Aw, new picture. Here was the Heisuke I knew.
No matter what, I'll be there for you. Any bastard that thinks he can come after you will have to get through me first, because you're what I'm fighting for.
Aw. And with that, the final triumphant yell, he brought his sword up to face his next foe. The quarters for the Fury Corps. Most of the Furies had been killed during Kazuma's attack, which left their quarters largely empty. The Fury Corps was frightened enough, but the thought of them disappearing was even more so. After all, some of the members of the Corps I knew very well.
Did you need something?
Oh, Sanan.
As you can see, the Fury Corps is hardly at its best. I can't imagine there's anything here for you.
His words were understandably tight and cold. I was hoping to talk to Heisuke.
I see. You have interesting taste.
I'm sorry for disturbing you at a time like this.
Well, right now Heisuke and myself are the only men here who can carry out a conversation. Given the circumstances, I suppose I shouldn't be surprised that you'd rather talk to him than me.
Oh, Sanan. Once we get Kyoto Winds, I'll be romancing you. Don't worry, I might even go for you first. I'm not sure yet.
Very well. I'll go find him. You wait here.
Yes, thank you. He left me there for only a few moments before he returned with Heisuke, but those moments felt like an eternity. I felt as if the blood of the Furies who had died that night hung in the air around me like a thick, wet cloud. So much blood had been shed, even Heisuke's.
Hey.
I'm sorry to bother you.
It's no big deal. So, why are you here?
I'd only come to see him, but now that I had, I didn't know what to say. He seemed to be feeling much the same. We stood there awkwardly for a while, like two strangers thrown into conversation for the first time. I just wanted to see how you were feeling.
Oh, well, all my wounds have healed.
Oh, that's... I caught myself before I said good. The injury Heisuke had taken at Abura no Koji was not something he should have survived. Even my limited medical knowledge hadn't been needed to see that it was a mortal wound. The only reason he was speaking to me now was because the water of life had done its work. He was healed, yes, but he'd become a fury in the process. Good hardly seemed like the right thing to say. I was at a loss for words, but I decided to come and visit him, so I had to say something. Now I decided it was the time to tell him what was in my heart. Which is... I want to be with you. Can I stay here with you for a while? He opened his mouth to answer, but I felt a sudden surge of courage and plowed ahead. No, not just here, and not just for a while. I want to stay with you as long as I can. I'll leave if I ever get in your way. Can I? We really freaked him out. He blinked. My sudden boldness had clearly caught him off guard. Silence stretched on for what seemed like forever. Heisuke, say something! Just as I was about to summon up the courage to push further. What? As he laughed, all the gloom and tension seemed to dissolve and fade away. What's so funny?
Oh, sorry. Oh no, it's not that.
Well, what is it?
I was just happy, that's all.
Don't laugh at a girl's confession. It's hard to work up that courage.
I don't really know if I'm alive or dead anymore. But even if I hadn't gotten it figured out yet, I do know for sure that I'm different. My injuries are all healed, and I can do all the stuff I used to, but my future seems a little bleak. I was kind of freaking out. All sorts of stuff just shaking around in my head, you know? But talking to you really cheered me up.
Really?
Yeah, you're pretty amazing, Chizuru. Thanks.
Yeah, I know. I'm good. Oh, that's not really anything you should be thanking me for. Besides, you used to always cheer me up, too.
Yeah? Well, I think you cheered me up a little more.
He laughed again. His face wasn't the face of a dead man. It was Heisuke's, the Heisuke I remembered. Then, can I stay with you?
Yeah, of course.
Good. Oh, and not just for a little while, as long as I don't get in the way, right?
I don't think I could ever think of you as being in the way, so go ahead and stick around as long as you like.
Really?
Yeah. I think that'd probably cheer me up the most.
With the blushing. Thanks. If I could help him even just a little bit, then I'd be happy. And actually here we're going to go ahead and end this episode because, well, honestly, it's probably still going to be kind of short when I cut out all the skipping, but I think this is a good spot to stop and pick up in the next episode. This might be enough for a whole episode, we'll see. So whatever the case, I hope to see you in the next video or one of my other ones, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye everybody.